Welcome to the MPC Academy. Today we're going to be looking at the step sequence controls inside the MPC Live III. Let's get to it. So I have a brand new project loaded up with a lo-fi kit. We'll be using this kit as the foundation for our beat that we're going to make with the step controls. So there's two ways to enter notes with the step sequencer. You can either use drum sequence mode or note sequence mode. Drum sequence mode is going to be pad dependent. So if I hit the kick drum right here, whatever I see on the tracks, like so, is going to be related to the pad that I have selected. If I hit the next pad over, the notes disappear. With pad 2 selected, if I select 5 and 13 buttons and then play it, you hear a beat coming through. All right, let's undo that real quick. I'm gonna go back to the kick drum, get rid of these steps. Now the second mode is note sequence mode. Let's say I just want to keep on adding notes like this and have it automatically populate the steps as I go by. You can easily do that with note sequence mode. So with this mode, in order to activate it, you have to tap a step and then the LED becomes a brighter white, which indicates that it's listening for notes on the pads. So if I tap a hi-hat, you'll see I get a red LED right here and it moves on to the next step. So if I tap it again, once again, it keeps on doing it. It also records the XY value of where you press the pad and also the velocity. So you can give it a bit more humanistic feel to it. So with this, now it's onto the second bar because there is a 2-bar loop inside the sequence at the moment. Now we have 2 bars that sounds like this. Now you might be wondering how do you get 8th notes instead of 16th notes as it sounds like right now. Let me make a new clip real quick so there's nothing in the timeline right here. If we go over to the time correction and then select a new subdivision, whatever subdivision you choose is going to be the step subdivisions. I'm gonna hit the previous button up here to make sure it's on the first bar. And you can see it's editing bars 1 through 4 because the subdivision is quarter notes, which means that each step is being considered as a quarter note. So if I wanted 8th notes, I would select 1/8, and now I should have 2 bars being represented. Editing bars 1 through 2 represented on the top 16 steps right here. So in this particular case, I could tap the first step and then, as you can see, it's adding notes. And now you can hear the playback of 8th notes and see it corresponding correctly visually. So I'm going to put this back to 16th notes now. Now let's go to drum sequence mode. And now you can see the notes populated between the 2 bars from those hi-hats. You will see purple steps right here, and we'll get to that in a moment. But in case you're curious right now, it's representing note length. Now what we're going to do is add a kick and snare. So again, in drum sequence mode, whatever pad you select is going to be represented on the steps. And moving between the first bar and the second bar, you use the previous and next buttons right here. So I hit next and it said editing bar 2. I hit previous, editing bar 1. So I'm going to add this kick right here. So we want 1 on the 1, we want 1 on the 7, and maybe 1 on the 15. And then next page over, we'll do the same 1 and 7, and then maybe we'll go 11, and then a 16 on here. And we'll do some extra stuff for the 16th step later on. Now we need a snare. We'll do the usual stuff. We'll put 1 on 9, and then 9 on the next page as well, and maybe even 14. Let's hear how this sounds right now. Pretty straightforward so far. Let's go back to this kick. So we're on bar 2 at the moment for this editing, and we have this last 16th kick. Now, if you want to edit these steps individually, what you have to do is hold set and go into step edit mode. And then this will allow you to edit whatever step on the particular bar. So if you want to edit steps from bar 1, you have to click over editing bar 1, and now the step editor corresponds to whatever's on this page. So we wanted to edit the last 16th step on bar 2. So I'm going to go to 16th step right here. We want to make a ratchet, okay? And then we'll also turn down the velocity. And let's hear this. Like so. Now I'm going to move to pad 6 right here, which is an alternate snare. We're going to add a couple steps on this. So we'll go to page 1, and I think what we'll do is add step 15. Let's hear that for a second. Nope, not 15. Let's go 16. Same thing though. Let's go into step edit, and instead of ratcheting, let's turn down the velocity. We want to go to modifiers. We want to tune it down even further, like maybe 2 semitones down, and also the filter as well. If you activate the filter right here, it is considered a complete sweep down. So when it's on 0, the filter's off, but when it's on, say, 10, the filter's all the way closed down. So what you're going to want to do is open this up a fair bit of ways, like maybe 90, and see how that sounds. Let's actually pitch it up. Let's do like 9 semitones up. Okay, this works. I put the cutoff frequency at 74%, and then I raised it 9 semitones to get that kind of feel right there. So next thing we're going to do is add some ghost 16th note possibilities into the hi-hats. So back to the basic hi-hat right here. In order to do this, we are in note sequence mode, and we're going to add notes like so, and also on the second page. And right now it's going to sound like this. What we want to do with this is add a bit of chance and randomness. So what we're going to do is go back into the step editor, and let's go back to page 1. We're going to go to each even step and adjust the probability. So back to the events page, we have probability right here, and we could turn this down to say 25%. Step 4, probability down, and so on. And maybe the 16th step will have a higher probability. Now, same stuff with bar 2. We're going to do some probability adjustments. But this time around, I think I will have it happen a bit more often. So around 40-ish%, up to 50 as it gets closer to finishing out the bar. Let's hear that. So now we're getting a little probability in there, a little more variation every time the bar does a full loop. To round out the step editor, though, you do have options for the envelope, so you can adjust attack, decay, release, and even the sample layer per note. And again, the filter with the cutoff frequency, the resonance, envelope amount, and even sample size. And then again, you can adjust the tuning and the level and pan. And also you can add and remove notes in this mode as well. So let's go over to this kick drum right here. Let's say on bar 1, I wanted to add a step on step 3. What I could do, have step 3 selected, then hit add note, and then it's in the mix, and I can adjust it and do stuff with it. So what if you want to add some melodic notes? Let's do that. Let's add a bass, all right? We'll make a new plugin track. We'll go sounds. Let's go over to Analog Dreams. Maybe choose soft sub. Before we go further, let's go into the notes right here. I'm going to put this to natural minor and drop this down to A. So it's going to be A natural minor. So same thing, just like the drum sequence and the note sequence. Whenever you're in drum sequence, whatever pad you have selected is considered its own note, and you'll be able to see all the steps that are triggered from that note on here. When you go into note sequence mode, then you can see the whole melodic information on one line. So in this mode, we're going to choose step 1, and then we're going to tap the note, and it's going to be added, and then it's waiting for the next note. Now we're going to move forward and go to step 4, and we're going to stay basically with the note of A at the moment for these steps. Okay, then on to the next page. Now let's hear this. So now, note length. How do we adjust that? So in order to do note length adjustments, you actually have to be back into drum sequence mode, and then you have the option to be able to stretch notes across. So for instance, if I hold 1 and then press 3, you'll notice step 2 and 3 become purple, and that's indicating that the step has been stretched out that far. So if I open up the sequencer right here, you can see that that very first note was stretched out by 2 steps. If I hit undo, you can see clearly on the screen that they're all the same length. So if we go like so, you can see it being activated. And one thing you got to keep in mind is it's not going to show every single note that's on the grid because it's in drum sequence mode. So it's only showing this A natural note that's across the top right here. So we'll do the same thing right here. If I tap pad 08, it's going to show me this low A, and this low A is going to get that much length. And then if we go up to pad 15, which is the octave higher A note, then we can adjust these further. So now it sounds like this. Has a bit more of a ring out, right? That's how you easily adjust the note length with the step sequencer. You can also go into note length mode if you hold set and press step number 4. Now when you're in these steps, it'll show you step 4, note length. If I start adjusting the ticks, you'll see the purple LEDs increase and decrease with the tick right here. So that's how you actually get fine control over the note length if you desire. Now, back on track 1, our drums, there's the ability to adjust the last step of a clip. This is an interesting feature because you can adjust clip length and track length through the button manipulation up here. You can even choose which clip you want to adjust. Obviously, it'll have the clip that you're actually playing selected first, but you can actually shuffle through the different clips if you wanted. Now, the way this works, when this page is up, these steps become blue, and now you can actually adjust how long the actual clip is with these steps. So this is currently in bar 1. If I go to bar 2, it highlights everything. But if we just go back to bar 1 and say 5 steps long, this is what it sounds like. And then we can even start adding steps. 13 steps. Now let's say you want to reset this back to the full clip. You'd roll this to bar 2 and then select step 16, and then it's the full 2 bars that we've been working with. Let's actually go back to our bass right here and do last step. Let's do the same thing. Let's say just 5 steps long. Start adding stuff. So last step, very powerful for some live performance options. On step 6, you have automation. If we go into this, you have the ability to add automation per step. So for instance, you can go into new and say MIDI, and you can look at, say, pitch bend or aftertouch or modulation. You can add it, and then you can set a certain value for that particular note. And then you have automation baked in per step. And if you want, you can remove it just like that. So no more automation. Under step 7 is clip launching, and under step 8 is row launching. These have to do with the clip launcher. If you're interested in that, there will be a video that you can watch for that. Those are related to clip launching, as you can see. And if I go clip launch and I choose the first drum track, I can now launch these clips with the step control. Now, if I go over to row launch, same type of thing, but it has to do with the rows right here. So all these steps are now associated with whatever row can be launched on this side. So for instance, if I hit step 6, it launches this row. But like I said, if you want a deeper dive into clip launching, there will be a video linked. Next up, we have track select under number 9, and this allows you to choose your tracks via the step sequencer buttons. So if I were to add a few audio tracks and another plugin or 2, you can see they start getting populated up here, and I can easily switch between these tracks with the buttons up here. And if you have more than 16 tracks, you can always use the previous and next buttons to get access to the next bank of 16. Next up, you have track arm, and this allows you to choose which track you want to arm for recording. So if you do have a DAW set up with a bunch of instruments and you have a template set up inside your MPC Live III, you could technically say your bass is always going to be track number 1. You could arm your bass and then immediately start recording into it and then jump into, say, track 3 or 4. It could be your pad keys type of thing. And it makes it super convenient to immediately start recording. If you're wondering if you can record to multiple tracks at once, you can. All you have to do is hold shift, and then you can arm all these tracks at once. Moving on from there, we have track mute. Pretty straightforward. You can mute any of these tracks by pressing the steps. So now track 1 through 4 is officially muted. Next one is pad mutes. And these, you do have to be in a drum track, like so. Now what this allows you to do is mute the individual pads via the steps up here. And as you can see, they start triggering based on when they're getting information being received. So if I mute the first 3, and hit play, and then start bringing in the hi-hats, and then the kick, and then the snare. Now the next one is next sequence, and this allows you to shift between sequences that you have set up. So if you have more than one sequence in your project, you will easily be able to choose these as you're going along, say in a performance or some sort of jam that you're recording. You can easily select your sequences. Next, we have Q-Link Pad Grid. This allows you to create some very specific performance capabilities with your whole production. It also can get fairly complex, so I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. So let's do a little automation effects. What we're going to have happen is on the main output, we are going to kick in some sort of filter, okay? We'll say air vintage filter is going to kick in. Let's hear what this sounds like. We'll drop this down, increase the resonance. Okay, pretty aggressive. Now we take that off. That's how it's going to sound like. Now, in order to apply this as a Q-Link button, we're going to hold the Q-Link and then go to Q-Link Edit and then hit Pad Grid. And then in this mode, it actually shows you which step you have selected for these effects. Again, we're going to go with step 13 just for this example. We're going to hit Learn. And now it's listening to whatever I do inside the operating system. So if I go back to this vintage filter and I hit tap on, look at that, learned outputs 1, 2, insert enabled. So, and as you can see, it's still flashing red, which means it's still listening. This means that if I tap 13, it turns off the recording listening. Playing, nothing's happening, tap this, it kicks in, okay? Now what's really cool is you can add basically any number of automation parameters to a single button that you want. So sky's the limit here. You just got to be creative and think about what you want to do with it. Next to the keyling pad, you do have visuals, and this is pretty straightforward. It creates a nice little LED visualizer right here. You can actually change it too, depending on what step you choose. So pretty cool, again, for performance mode. And then finally, we have edit actions. Edit actions will pop up the edit page for whatever selection you have currently on the MPC screen.